It is Chatsworth, because last week when we retired, it was closer to that. And that's not a
Good morning, everyone. We'll just start the timer so I don't go over. So my name is Sue Chang. I'm with the Center for Environmental Health. Can you change the slide? We're a national nonprofit working to protect the public, especially children and families, from exposure to toxic chemicals. Advance the slide, please. So the reason I'm going to talk about this is just to really give you guys a sense of how we currently manage and deal with chemicals in the U.S. You might be surprised, but over the last 19 years, CEH has tested and found toxic chemicals in hundreds of products for children and families. Our work has pressured major companies like Walmart, Target, Disney, and hundreds of others to stop selling toxic products. The list here provides examples of some of the types of children's products where we found lead, which is particularly disconcerting given that it's now widely recognized that there's no safe level of lead exposure for children. Next slide. We've also worked in dozens of cases where polluting factories are threatening neighborhoods, and our work stopped companies from emitting millions of pounds of harmful chemicals into the air and water. So this is the background CEH brings to our work around health concerns associated with fracking and other types of oil and gas development. Next slide, please. So, several years ago, people started to hear and learn more about hydraulic fracturing or fracking, which is a process that uses a lot of water mixed with chemicals and sand at high pressure to create fractures underground and stimulate the flow of oil and gas out of a well. In July of this year, an independent scientific study was released by a group called the California Council on Science and Technology, which I'll refer to as CCST from now on. And until this report came out, there really wasn't much readily available information about, what was going on with the oil and gas industry and how much fracking was happening, and what it might mean for communities living nearby. So this report really provided the first sort of in-depth look at what's happening in the state here and a summary of what is known about the potential health risks to human and environmental health in California from fracking and oil and gas activities. But more importantly, it also highlighted what's not known, and there's actually a lot that we don't know about the health risks from oil and gas development in the state. Next slide, please. So, as you'll see from the slide, the majority of direct impacts of well stimulation in the state results from the use of chemicals. And in California, it's been reported over 300 different chemicals are in use. And I want to bring up this point that, even if there isn't a lot of fracking currently happening, there is other techniques like acidization using different chemicals, and the oil and gas and development process in general generates a substantial amount of wastewater. So for every barrel of oil produced, about 10 to 15 barrels of wastewater are generated. And chemicals used in the process are found in the wastewater, as well as chemicals that are being brought up from underground. So there's also potential air pollution from the fluid recovery when this wastewater is containing chemicals that can become airborne. So, next slide. This is just talking about how there are compounds that are known of particular concern that are associated with oil and gas development. And it includes known carcinogens like benzene, endocrine disruptors, which is a growing body of research emerging on how these chemicals affect and disrupt our body's hormone system at extremely low levels. And there's also reproductive and developmental toxins. Next slide. Another finding from the CCST report, and I just want to make sure we're on the right one. Oh, yes. as I mentioned, there's at least over 300 chemicals that have been reported as being used. 100 of them are unidentified, and then 2/3 lack adequate data on toxicity and the potential risk to human health. And there's really been no studies on looking at the potential for the chemicals to actually, mix or interact with each other, and if there's any byproducts that are produced as a result of that. So there's still a lot that we don't know. And of course, the emissions data, as we've been hearing earlier this morning, is totally lacking. So next slide. So you'll hear this common theme that there is just a ton of data gaps and stuff that we don't know. And there's no good studies in California about how these emissions from the oil and gas sites migrate to nearby communities, what the chemicals are, how much the chemicals are creating dangerous levels of exposure. So, but the report did find that many of the constituents used in and emitted by oil and gas development can damage health and place disproportionate risk on sensitive populations, including children, pregnant women, and the elderly, and folks that are living, in close proximity. And so they called for a full understanding of the health risks caused by the proximity to production wells. And what really is disturbing to me is that the public health department in the state really has had no role in looking at what the oil and gas industry is doing here and the impacts to health so far. Next slide. So this is just a summary talking about some of the studies that have been done outside of the state, because there really hasn't been anything done here in California. Just looking at the health effects of people that are living closer to the oil and gas activity versus those farther away. And so, there have been studies reporting health symptoms like we've been talking about this morning, and that Susan mentioned earlier of, acute health effects being reported of nausea and vomiting, nosebleeds, which are particularly common in children, flu-like symptoms, headaches, a whole gamut of things. And we're not currently tracking any of this in the state. Next slide. This is just giving a quick overview and summary of sort of what the current number of wells are in the county, how many of them are active, and how close people are to the activities here. Next slide. And I wanted to highlight, if you guys haven't heard of this, a new report just came out in the last few weeks that focuses on oil and gas drilling in LA. And I highly recommend that people check it out. It really talks about a lot of the issues that are going on here and documents the health risks and health symptoms that people are experiencing in different parts of LA. And it also highlights that this is not just about the newer sort of extreme extraction techniques like fracking that pose a problem. It's the close proximity of people to these operations. Next slide. So, the basic message that really came out of the CST report is that, people shouldn't be in close proximity where this stuff is happening. We know that toxic chemicals are associated with oil and gas activity, and it's being emitted. And so one of the recommendations that came out is that we should establish science-based setbacks between sensitive populations and all oil and gas activity. So please, next slide. I was told that there is an application for a permit around sensitive land uses around here, so I just threw this slide in. There's actually much more to the impacts to wildlife here, but these activities are happening in areas of ecological sensitivity, and I believe that is the case here as well. So that's another factor that should be taken into consideration. Next slide. And I just put this one in here to really bring home the point that, even though they're saying, oh, methane is not going to have a direct health impact to you, it actually does through the fact that methane is an extremely potent greenhouse gas. And I have not heard how much is actually currently leaking right now, but it's 86 times more potent a greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. And so this is a huge, huge issue for our climate, and we really need to be thinking about moving and making the transition away from fossil fuels. Next slide. So I'm going to really try to quickly go through the health survey and talk about that. So I've been asked to talk about this community health survey that will be launched here in Porter Ranch soon. The members of Save Porter Ranch came to CEH because they've been experiencing health problems, and this is before the gas leak. And we're wondering if other people in the community were experiencing similar health symptoms. So they asked if we could help with developing a health survey. I want to be clear that linking health problems to an exposure to environmental contaminants in the environment may sound straightforward, but it's actually an extremely challenging endeavor. It's important to understand that a health survey is not the same as a comprehensive scientific study. A scientific health study is a much more complex approach that seeks to discover links between specific chemical exposures and individual illnesses. Such studies often take years or even decades and can require millions of dollars in equipment and testing and experts involved. So we obviously don't have the capacity for such a study. The intention of a health survey here would be to capture a snapshot of what is happening now in the community, of what residents' health experiences are and what the perceptions are about the neighborhood environment. So the survey is not going to identify a specific cause and effect. Like, we can't use this to say the information that we get is going to be evidence that, a particular company or pollution source caused the health outcomes. However, a health survey can be an important tool for your organizing efforts. It can help you build power within the community, and it could prompt regulators and others to start taking a deeper look into the issues, not only here, but all around the state. So far, my associate at CEH has been assisting Save Porter Ranch with developing a community health survey, including figuring out the best ways to collect and compile information from community residents. This is the point where we're going to make the pitch to say we really need you guys to get involved, and we're hoping to get at least 15 to 20 volunteers who can help make this happen. It would involve participating in a 2-hour training on December 6th coming up, and I think there's going to be a sign-up sheet passed around soon, as well as flyers about the training. And we're also hoping to, get folks to commit to doing like maybe a 4-hour block at a time over, maybe say 3 to 5 weekends, like one day a weekend, to help go implement the survey and collect the results. Volunteers will basically go together in pairs, door to door, and ask the basic health questions included in the survey. And at the end of the process, the results will be shared back with the community, and we could potentially present the report to county agencies to urge them to conduct a formal health assessment. Thank you very much, and I'll let Jessica talk about the air monitoring project.
All right, so while Jessica's setting up, we'll get your PowerPoint up there. Oh, you don't have it? Okay, easy. So I want to introduce Jessica Hendricks. She's Program Director, and she has strong roots in grassroots community organizing center around environmental issues. She has been leading GCM's program work for 6 years. Previously, at the Sierra Club, Jessica organized people on an environmental justice campaign around the construction of new power plants in San Francisco. She has served as field organizer for MoveOn.org and organized student action on Darfur. Jessica also has a Bachelor of Arts degree in political science from Stockton University and has completed the Midwest Academy's Organizing for Social Change training. So please give a warm welcome to Jessica.